Hi, hey guys. This is a video just a little overview of how I do choice boards in my classroom. These are the fifth grade lesson options as of right now. And what the kids have to do is they have to do one lesson from each standard by the end of the year. For instance, as you can see, the standard here for these two lessons, this is one lesson. This is one lesson. Every row is a lesson. It's the same standard. It's where they have to combine ideas. So they don't have to do both. They can do one or the other. Because there's two for that one. So this is their choice board. And they also, in my class, they don't necessarily have to go in order of the standards. I just have them in standard order. So for instance, here's another one where there's choice. So they get choice in, if I have more than one lesson for each standard, they get to choose which lesson they want to do for that standard. But they also get to choose the order that they go in. All right. So yes, these rows here are just a little preview of what the lesson is about so that they can see and make a choice. So it'll have the suggested medium. It'll have a teacher example. It'll have the inspiration. As far as the suggested medium goes, they don't necessarily have to use that. They can use really almost anything. They just have to ask me first. I've got reference images that would be helpful to them in this lesson, and I have the suggested date that they do this, and then what to do when they're done with it. Let's say they want to do this lesson right here. This is called Black History Month, but they can do it whenever they want. It doesn't have to be in February. I recommend that they do it in January so that I can display it for Black History Month. But anyway, so if they choose this one they want to do, they just push the plus sign next to it. And that opens it up. And this is where all the instructions are, right here. And they're links. So, it has videos to things, instructions and demonstrations, and there's an assessment form and all the things for the lesson. And what I do over here on the right is I try to include differentiation for the different steps. So for instance, these boxes are some EL scaffolds. This here is some SPED help. Here's some gifted talented extensions. And things like that. So I like to include those over there as much as I can. So for instance, this step is where they have to fill out a Google form that talks about the process of researching for their art project. And in my SPED column, I have a word wall that might help them with that form. And it's all art terms, so that's just an example. Now, so if they go ahead and choose this lesson, what they're going to do is they're going to, they'll do this part at the beginning of the school year. They add a new sheet. They double click on the sheet. They add their name. Okay. So this is my page now. All right, this is my page. And I have picked out this lesson, and I'm going to do it. So I'm going to click here on the number, and I'm going to scroll down to the last row of this lesson. Okay, so I'm going to start by clicking here next to the standard. So 43 for this one. Scroll down to the very end. 55 is this one. So I'm going to hold down my shift on my computer keyboard, click on that, and that displays everything I need for this lesson. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it and paste it into my page. So I'm going to right click or click with two fingers on my trackpad, and I'm going to click copy. Then I'm going to go over to my page. I'm going to go to the top because it's my first lesson. You just go to the next empty row. This is my first one, so it's at the very top. And then I'm going to do two fingers on my trackpad again and click paste. And it's going to look like this. So their first one is not, you can kind of see the rows and the columns are not exactly like these rows and columns. So they can move these around to make it look more like mine, or I could go in and do this for them even. And then every other time they add another lesson. So, okay, let's say they finish all of this lesson and they're ready for a new one. They can click down here, and let's say they want to do this lesson next. So we're gonna, same thing, select it all, copy, and paste. And you'll see that the formatting stays the same. So they don't have to readjust it every single time, just the first time. And that's their lessons. And then once they finish the lesson or step, they can just check it off over here. And it helps them keep track of where they're at in the lesson. That way, they just pick up where they left off the next time they come to art class. They won't remember what step they're on usually, so that's why I added these check marks here. And then they can close them up, open them up. When they finish the whole lesson, they can check it off like this. And then I can, of course, always go and check and see what they've done. And that's how I do my choice boards. Thanks for watching. This video, I just wanted to describe how I use my completion tracker. So this is the one for 5th grade that I have currently. And this gives the kids a place to check and see their overall progress in their goal, which their goal is to have one art lesson done from each standard. These are the standards up here by the end of the school year. And so they can see their progress on that. And I give them checkpoints to help them with that. So for each lesson, I've picked out 3 things that are the most important to me that they get done, and they get a check mark for each of those. So the first check that they get is just because I've simply seen them working on that. It's like a participation point. The second one is that they've turned it in. So in my class, you turn your art in by uploading it to Artsonia. It's a digital portfolio. And the last thing is their Google form. So that's, you can think of it like the assessment portion of that lesson. They have to answer questions. Okay, so that is another check that they get. So let's talk about this form for a little bit longer, this assessment portion. These, of course, are also, they're kind of like formative assessment. But when I say assessment, I'm talking about this form here. So I have the results from my Google form from each lesson linked down in the exact same document as my completion tracker so that I can simply check. So let's say I want to check my kindness flower progress. All of the kids' responses to this form are going to show up here. I don't have anything right now because I'm on summer break, but all their stuff is going to fill out here. I did this last year and I just cleared it all out for next year. So their name's going to go here. When they did the test is going to go here. And then there's only one question in this particular assessment. They just have to list 2 places they got their ideas from. So I will see their answer here. And if I feel like that's perfect, that's great, I can go ahead and cross it off my list. I just like click this button here to cross it off. And then I go through and I check it off their form. All right, now let's say though, these were not sufficient. I can go back over here and I can write a little note. Try again, see me if you need help. Okay, so they're not allowed to go on to this next lesson until all 3 of these checks are done. So they can't move on to their next lesson until this is checked off. It's not checked off because they didn't meet my expectations. So they've got a note here that says, try again, see me if you need help. And they check this at the beginning of every class. And of course, they might miss the little note. They might just come here and look and see how many points they have. And I'll get to that in a second, why they would come and look for that. But this is also a note for me as well. I'm checking this at the beginning of class, calling kids up and getting these things taken care of. All right, so it helps me with their assessment. So the kids are going to check this, hopefully to look for notes like that, but mostly they're looking to see how many points that they have. As you can see, every time I check these boxes, they get more points. If they have a lot of points, it turns green. That's really above average. And the reason they want to know this is because I will tell them how many points that they need in order to do their warm-up, okay, or whatever the incentive is that you choose. I currently am doing a warm-up for their incentive. So for instance, if you're doing a warm-up like me, you would let them free draw or read an art book or do an art quiz. I have a whole Google Sheet page of options that they get to choose from for the first 10 minutes of art class to get them warmed up for their art lesson. And they really like doing that. So I find that that encourages them to keep on trucking through these lessons and not to waste too much time, because if they don't have enough points, they don't get to do that 10 minutes of a warm-up time. They like to call it free time. I like to call it warm-up time because they get warmed up for art class. So that is how I use my tracker. Thanks for watching. This video is about the art class warm-up and cool down options that I have given the kids. So when the kids come to class, they'll check their completion tracker and see how many, they'll find their name over here on the left, and they'll see how many points they have. So they get points by getting things done on their art lessons like this. If they have enough points, which I'll tell them how many points that they need, or I'll write it on the board. If they have enough points, then they will get to go to this page. So this is art class warm up and cool down, and they get to open up their 10-minute timer here, and then they will get to choose what they want to do. So they could do digital art. These are all digital art websites that I have found. These are some art quiz games that they can play. And there's some puzzles that they can do here. And there's also videos in here. So it'll say free draw ideas, and it's just going to link to this. This is a reference image catalog that I'm building. These are all just like Canva slideshows that I've made. So let's say they want to draw a water animal. They would click on this, and it would take them to, I just built a whole page of water animal reference images. All right. So that is the art class warm up and cool down. So thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.